What's up guys, Schmitty here, welcome back to another video. Today guys, I want to talk more about this Black Ops Pass here today. So in my last video, I talked a bit about how this whole boycotting of Black Ops 4 thing was just ridiculous. It was too far, something like that would never work, and people are just getting way over their own heads. But I thought in this video I would talk more specifically about the Black Ops Pass and the reasons why I think that it's not very good, it's not something that the community wants, and also my personal reasons why I don't like it. Now we'll see how that goes, seeing as every other time I seem to leave an opinion in a video, people just seem to hit it up with dislikes, but you know what, it is what it is, we'll cover it here today nonetheless. So first let's talk about this Black Ops Pass, the content that it brings, as well as some of the other content that we're going to be seeing throughout the year. So I've already kind of gone over this Black Ops Pass and talked about what it includes, and many other people have as well, so just to cover it really quick, you're going to get one zombies map right away at launch, which is called Classified. It looks like it has something to do with the map 5 from Black Ops 1. You're going to be getting 4 other zombies maps throughout the year. 12 multiplayer maps sometime throughout the year, but more consistently than what we've seen from DLC packs. And on top of that, you're also going to get 4 exclusive Blackout characters, and none of this stuff is final. Some of the stuff is subject to change. Whether they add certain stuff or take certain stuff out remains to be seen, but nonetheless, that's what it's set at right now. This pass is valued at about $40 to $50. I'm assuming that, obviously, it's $40 extra to get this pass if you get one of the digital deluxe editions, but typically they sell the season pass as its own, like, personal thing later in the digital store for about $50, so the way you're getting that $40 deal with this thing as of right now is through getting a special edition. So we get all that stuff with the Black Ops Pass. However, on top of that, we're also going to be getting other content. Some people have heard about this, some people haven't, so to cover it for those people, there is going to be more content than ever before in Black Ops 4, regardless of whether you have the Black Ops Pass or not. There will be free maps added to this game that are not part of the Black Ops Pass. The maps that are in the Black Ops Pass, some of them will be available during certain community events. So the events like we've seen in World War II and Modern Warfare Remastered, once those are live, certain maps will be available to play for those people during that amount of time. So from what it sounds like, everybody will have a chance to play on these Black Ops Pass maps. You just will only be able to play them on specific time periods during community events if you don't own the pass. You'll also see more community events than ever before, so we're seeing them right now in World War II, average about every month or so, sometimes a month in between, just kind of depends on what's going on. But so far we've seen seems like 4 or 5 or so already, and we're definitely going to be seeing more here throughout the year. So I would say maybe every month, heck, maybe even every few weeks or so, we're going to have a community event live, maybe all the time occurring throughout Black Ops 4. We will have something live. That would be pretty interesting. But just to set it there, regardless of whether you have the Black Ops Pass or not, you will be getting more content in Black Ops 4 than ever before. So as it stands right now, that is how the content cycle is going to be going for Call of Duty Black Ops 4. We don't know how often we're going to get certain content, but it is set in stone that we are going to be getting a load of content, so I would assume that we're typically not going to just have like a dry period of Black Ops 4 to where there's not really any content, not really anything interesting going around. I would assume that at all times, or at least with a very short time in between, we are going to have something going on for Black Ops 4 for the community to get excited about, which is fantastic news. I think that's what everybody wants to hear. The problem with this Black Ops Pass, and I think the main problem with it, is of course it costs money, but not only that, the maps cost money. To be able to get access to these DLC maps, granted they're not all of them, like I said, there will be free ones, but to get total complete access to these maps that are in the Black Ops Pass, you obviously have to purchase the pass. There's no other way to get these maps. There was somebody in one of my last videos asking about whether these maps could be purchased individually like we see with packs, to where you don't have to buy the pass. You can buy like DLC 1, DLC 2, or 3 or 4, depending on whatever ones you want. It doesn't sound like that is going to be something that is going to be available this year due to the fact that they don't want to split the community in that sense. So some people will buy like DLC 1 and DLC 3. Some people will buy 2 and 4. Some people will buy all of them. Some people will only buy just one. When you kind of get down to that specific of purchases, it can really fragment the community in that sense, as far as like getting in a normal lobby and trying to find certain maps, which makes perfect sense from that side of things. However, the ironic part is it's still going to fragment the community due to the fact that not everybody is going to buy this Black Ops Pass. It's just not going to happen. Not everybody is going to buy this pass, and not everybody is going to have full, complete access to these maps. Now, I want to cut something completely clear and dry right now. I think the maps are the biggest problem with this pass. Having to pay for zombies maps, I don't think matters one bit. Those take a ton of time, a ton of voice acting, and extra story effort. That takes a ton. Zombies could pretty much sell as its own game as it is, so, I mean, for people having to pay for those zombie maps, I think is totally fine. I've heard a lot of people in the zombies community say the exact same thing. they would have zero issue with that. Same thing with like exclusive Blackout content or whatever. If people want that extra content, they want that exclusive content, they can only get through that, that's totally fine. That's not going to affect gameplay. That's not setting, that's not really fragmenting a community in that way. It's just a matter of what skins you have or what you don't. It's not something that's that big of a deal. Where it becomes a big deal is multiplayer maps, because then you're adding in all this extra content. So the people that do buy the pass more so for the maps than really anything else, they're going to have those maps. Yes, they're going to have full access to that if they're able to get this pass. However, not everybody is going to get this pass, obviously. So the people that have, you know, forked out the money to get this pass are not going to get its full worth, because they're not going to be able to have the same chance, the same opportunity as like launch maps, for example, that everybody has. There's not a good chance they get in those maps. And so it kind of devalues that pass in a sense, because for those people that want to spend the money on the pass, totally fine, but they're not getting total value because they're not having as good of a chance to get into games on those maps. And so personally, if you ask me, and I think if you ask a lot of people, the biggest problem with this pass is the maps. The exclusive cosmetic content and the zombies maps, I don't think anybody has any issue if they have to fork out some money for that. I think it's totally fair for that to be the case. The thing that a lot of people are getting tired of is having to pay for maps. It's something that very few games, if any nowadays, are making people pay for. We're seeing one of the other money whore publishers out there in EA giving out free maps, and we're even seeing one of Activision's sub-companies giving out free maps, with Blizzard giving out free maps for Overwatch. So it doesn't make any sense to me why in the hell we cannot get free maps for Black Ops 4. And there's two totally different sides and arguments to this, and I'm going to go through them both real quick. You have the people on one side that say, look, these developers put in an ass ton of time. Like, they are grinding their butts off. They work so hard on these maps, and so they deserve it. And a lot of people are okay saying, you know what, I'll give them their money. I will pay for that because I know how hard they work on these games and on these maps. I have no problem paying that money. Totally understand that side. There's the other side of people that say, look, so many other games are giving out free maps. It's kind of become the norm. If Call of Duty wants to compete with all these other companies that are giving out free maps, they have to give out free maps. And I personally am tired of paying for free maps. There's that side as well. And they're both make extremely good points. To the people that say, I will give Treyarch their money, I will give Activision their money for how hard they work, I appreciate that. And I'm right there with you, 100%. The only thing is, Treyarch wanted to give us these maps for free. And I'm sure a decent amount of the money that gets spent on the multiplayer maps will go back to some of those developers. But believe me when I tell you that they're more than set, and multiplayer map purchases or whatever is not going to greatly affect how much money they bring in for their job. That's where I stand, and I agree with a lot of those people. Like, I have no problem supporting the people that go out there and make these games and work hard to do so. But when the developer wants to give us the free maps, Treyarch wanted to, Activision would not let them. And on top of that, I mean, you're telling me all these other studios don't work hard on their maps? You're telling me that DICE, that creates Battlefield, doesn't work hard on their maps? You're telling me that the creators of Fortnite, Epic Games, don't work hard on their game to put that out there? Telling me the guys over making Overwatch don't put time into their games? There's a lot of companies out there that work their asses off for their games and put out a lot of time and effort that don't get any monetary value for their maps. And like I said, a good portion of that monetary value that you put into those maps is gonna go to Activision, not necessarily Treyarch. One of the other arguments with this pass is that we've been paying for maps forever. We've been having this season pass model forever, and that's true. Call of Duty has had that for a while. Other games have had that for a while. Battlefield's had that up until this year. So many games for the longest time have charged maps, but times are changing. Things are changing. Drifter put out a video yesterday that kind of put this all in perspective, to where it's just kind of milking the cow in a sense. I forgot the exact term he used, but it's just like, you can only do certain stuff for so long. You can't keep the same model going, and especially when times are changing. If you look around, if all these other games are changing their model and you're not really going to help yourself out. I think that's the biggest problem. I think when it comes down to it, the biggest issue with this whole Black Ops Pass thing is that Activision and Call of Duty are falling behind again to other things that are changing. I think deep down, most people would not have a problem spending money on things, but when other companies are offering the same type of thing for free, and it looks as though, at least, you know, on the surface, that they're going to take better care of their consumers, their customers, the people that buy the game, when it looks like that on the surface because of this whole thing, that's what is going to hurt Activision and Call of Duty. I know deep down that these developers really care about their community, and I know that deep down Call of Duty players want to play Call of Duty rather than other games, But when they don't see their franchise making the right moves toward becoming more consumer friendly when other franchises are doing the same thing, that's what really stings. And I can see a lot of people's point of view to where it's hard to have loyalty to certain franchises when the franchises aren't really having any loyalty back to them. I'm not here to try and bash companies or publishers out there for trying to make money. I understand it's a business, and anybody that doesn't see that is just blind. They should want to make money, they should want to do all these things, but when you have equivalents and competitors changing things up and you're not willing to do the same thing, it's going to end up hurting you. And all these great loyal fans that you have out there that are now becoming haters more than anything and that are bashing this model, I mean, this is one of the biggest trending things, not only just as far as Call of Duty goes, but around gaming and around the world right now. It's the #1 thing on Reddit right now is about this Black Ops Pass. It is one of the big trending things going on around the world, which I just want to pause and say to all of you saying that Call of Duty is dying, this is an example of where you're dead wrong. If Call of Duty was dying, there would not be this much talk, but aside from that, that was just a side note I had. My point of all this is Activision makes enough money. Treyarch gets enough money. All the members of the development team, at least monetarily, are taken care of just fine. Activision brings in billions of dollars just solely on microtransactions and supply drops. I don't really think losing out on some map pack dollars to kind of give back to your community and to help yourself compete with other games that are offering the same type of free thing is really going to hurt you that much. Because some people's whole decision on buying this game in the first place is what you're going to give them for buying this. If you're just going to nickel and dime them all the way, they're going to take their money to another franchise. Not everybody has this money to just spend on every single game that comes out. I'm kind of that way to where, you know, if I see a game and I feel like I'm going to put some time into it, I have no problem buying it, but I know that there's a ton of people out there that really only kind of limit themselves to one game that they're really going to put a lot of their time, their money, and their focus on. And so you have to give them this balance of a great game, which Black Ops 4 looks like it's going to be a great game, but if you don't also give the consumers that balance of giving them enough stuff that, you know, and giving them the same stuff that other franchises are giving them, it's going to hurt you. I'm not here to bash Activision or, again, bash developers or whatever for trying to make some extra money. I totally get it's a business and you want to make as much money as freaking possible, but when you make $1 billion off of microtransactions and your main competitors are probably going to end up being even bigger competitors or possibly passing you in this year, I think it's time to, you know, just lose out on a little bit of money just to regain some fan base back. Because if you don't, and other franchises step up and just start becoming more consumer friendly and you're just left behind not really doing that, you're going to end up losing fans. Call of Duty just not really having it anymore, not being able to make a great game, or some people just not really feeling themselves with the game anymore is one thing for Call of Duty to go out. If that's the way that it goes out, then that's totally fine. Every single game goes out that way to where people grow out of it and it's just not the same thing anymore to people. If that's the way a game dies out, that's totally fine. That's going to happen with Call of Duty eventually. But to see Call of Duty slow down and could potentially die out from just utter greediness and nickel and diming, that's a really terrible way for a game to go out. And so I'm really hoping Activision will make some changes. It looks like maybe they're considering this because it looks like the DLC for World War II was supposed to be announced a few days ago and it hasn't been. I'm wondering if Activision is stepping back and looking to change some of the stuff that they're doing. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping some changes do come because this won't cause Black Ops 4 to flop or be a fail of a game or anything, but it's going to turn some fans away. It's going to turn some people away to other games until Activision decides to become more consumer friendly like their main competitors are. Anyway, apologies if this turns out to be a longer video for you guys. Just felt like I had to give my thoughts out there on this whole thing with the Black Ops Pass. I'm going to try to steer away from it. I know there's been a ton of people making videos on it and giving their opinions. This is just my stuff that I wanted to put out there and talk about. And of course, as always, feel free to leave your guys' comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this whole thing with the Black Ops Pass. Anyway, hopefully you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smack the like button down below. And if you guys are new to the channel looking for more gaming content, you guys are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button down below, turn notifications on so you guys know when the videos go live. Hope you guys all have a good one. I will see you guys on another video. So long, everybody.